Make the choice to begin anywhere in your life, and the journey has started. And along the way, be inspired. Listen to the stories by joining the president of Howard University, Dr. Wayne A.I. Frederick, on The Journey.
Communities across the country are coming together in these desperate times of need. Many people are searching for various resources to get through this pandemic. Our university has a huge support system for the staff and faculty here at Howard University. This afternoon, we will highlight the importance of all of us staying connected and informed with your colleagues under these critical circumstances. Hello, my name is Dr. Wayne Frederick, and my guest today on The Journey is Monique McClung, President of the Howard University Staff Organization. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good. Well, first I want to start off by thanking you and all the staff. I often say the staff are the connective tissue of the organization. You keep everything running. Obviously, education is what we are about, and the faculty certainly provide that. Our students are our pride and joy, but none of it happens without the connective tissue of the staff. So thank you very, very much for all that you do.
Thank you.
With that in mind, tell me first how you got to Howard in this particular position that you're in.
I was living in Los Angeles, California. I'm originally from Prince George's County, Maryland. I moved to LA after college, but after spending about a decade there, wanted to come back home and spend more time with family and to pursue my passions in education and science. Saw the opportunity to work for the LSANT program at Howard University and interviewed, and actually a funny story, during my interview, Dr. Clarence Lee, who's the PI of the program, was having a big Board of Governors meeting, which you've been to as provost and as president. And I hadn't just finished my interview, and I said, well, if you need help, I'll volunteer you need extra hands for the Board of Governors meeting. And that started just my love for Howard and volunteering and just doing whatever I could to help. And then I think that got me some brownie points.
Excellent. So we're going to talk a little bit more about LSAMP. I'm going to have you explain that. Obviously, Dr. Clarence Lee is one of our distinguished professors. I had the opportunity to present him with the President's Medal at our last opening convocation. He's been a long-time faculty member here and has done an excellent job with that program. But before we get there, Prince George's County.
Yes.
Tell me what it was like growing up in Prince George's County.
Oh, wow. Exciting. I went to performing arts schools, both in middle school and high school in the 90s. It was bubbling.
And in terms of education and family life, what were those two like as you were coming up?
I have two brothers, so I'm the only girl. It was crabs on the weekends during the summer with family, and Sunday dinners, and a lot of activities. The Washington Post used to have a huge section of the Guide to the Lively Arts. I was big into theater, so going to auditions and doing summer stock and plays in school, we were always busy. There's so many opportunities in PG County and the DMV period for kids to get into summer camps, but be it STEM or dance or whatever they're interested in. So I played basketball in Kettering. My brothers played basketball with AAU. So we were just very, very active kids.
Excellent. And what about high school really stood out for you? Obviously performing arts, but you clearly had an interest in STEM as well. And so what was that? I would say probably a little bit of a struggle at that time. Now we recognize that those things go together well, especially in the creative minds. But back then, we weren't quite mature about that process.
Right. Back then, STEAM wasn't a thing, adding the arts into science, technology, engineering, and math. One of the great things, however, I think about growing up in PG County in that era under Dr. Alvin Thornton was the collective, making sure that all students had kind of a liberal arts education included in their science and technology. I was in the International Baccalaureate IB program at Suitland High School, also in addition to the VPA, the Visual and Performing Arts program, as a theater major.
Right.
So they made sure that we were well-rounded and got both aspects.
And where did you go to college?
Rider University in New Jersey on a full tuition scholarship for theater.
So I'm familiar with Ryder for a very unusual reason. And I was the manager of Howard's soccer team. We actually played Ryder, and I believe they don't have a football team, so soccer is their homecoming sport.
It is, exactly.
And unfortunately, we beat them that day, but that's from another time. So you went to Ryder College. What was your major at Ryder College?
Public relations.
And you subsequently, upon graduating, went to Los Angeles. But what was your experience like at Ryder that you think prepared you for that move to Los Angeles?
I was a public relations major, so certainly getting to know people
and you had some interaction, I would assume, around news sets and performances.
None like this.
Right, I understand. And so when you went out to Los Angeles, what kinds of jobs you did? I would assume that you were trying to make it in the industry.
Yes.
And what was that experience like?
Well, there's a funny joke when you tell someone you're an actor and they say, "Oh, what restaurant do you work at?" So in between jobs, which there were a few, I bartended, I worked in branding and marketing, I worked for a casting agent, but I always was writing. So I've always been a writer. One of my first jobs actually was in DC with the AAAS, American Association for the Advancement of Science, doing voiceover work. And so that love to connect education with entertainment was always something that kind of burned inside of me. And so I just always continued writing. In Los Angeles, there are so many opportunities. It's really big, but it's also really small. Kind of like Howard, where it seems really big when you step on campus, but once you get to know people, you realize that it's really kind of small. But it's also really welcoming to be able to connect and find other writers and like-minded people that support you to do, whatever it is you want to do.
No, that's excellent. So let's switch gears. You're back at, you got to Howard and joined the LSAM. Why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about what that program is about?
I'd love to. So the LSAMP is the Lewis Stokes Alliance for Minority Participation. It is a grant-funded program through the National Science Foundation, NSF. It's a 5-year grant, so you get renewed every 5 years, and the purpose of it is to increase the quality and quantity of underrepresented students getting their degrees in STEM and going forward to get their PhD.
Okay.
And
it's a program, a coalition of universities that participate. What types of other universities are involved?
So there are over 40 alliances throughout the country, and they're groups of universities, colleges, and community colleges, and actual other interest groups in their respective cities and states. Ours is the Washington, Baltimore, Hampton Roads Lewis Stokes Alliance for Minority Participation. It is a mouthful. But what that means is that Howard is the lead institution and has been since 1993. We've been funded 5 times over. And our partner schools are Bowie State, Morgan State, UDC, Virginia State, Hampton, and Norfolk State, along with 6 community colleges. So we have a pretty large alliance.
That's excellent. And how many students, what types of activities are funded under the grant?
So the great thing about LSAMP is that it's geared towards research. So we make sure that students get hands-on research with a faculty mentor. We encourage publication to better set them up for graduate school. Our alliance is the leading alliance in undergraduates getting their degrees in STEM.
And how many students has the grant served over the years, and what level are the students at when you engage them?
So when you enter, every university does it a little bit differently. Some have bridge programs to help students from coming from high school and going into college, because through the program, one of the data points that was uncovered is that students definitely need to be calculus ready before the end of their freshman year in order to persist through to a STEM degree. And so setting up those bridge programs from high school to college, and further giving them tutoring and summer programs, summer bridge programs, internships, anything to really set them up to make sure that they're successful and persist through to a STEM degree.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. And obviously that early exposure to research is extremely important.
Certainly.
What is the ratio, the gender breakdown of the student participation usually?
It's like what's in the United States is that it's now switching more towards more female students in STEM. So it's just about 60-40 at the moment.
Right. No, that's excellent. And as you know, our undergrad campus is about 70-30
Exactly.
women to men. So
Right.
that also seems to be consistent in terms of direction.
Exactly. And each school, I did want to go back to your question, each school has about 40 students and undergrads who are direct recipients of a stipend or some sort of conference support. As you know, students go and present their research to various conferences, so that comes with a hefty travel award sometimes, or a registration, and we want to make sure that our students can compete and that money isn't the reason why they're not competitive.
And the research activity takes place primarily in the summer or over the course of the entire academic year?
Both. That's great. It depends on the university. Some universities are heavy commuter schools, or they do more research in the summer. It just really depends on how their population. You want to make sure that you cater to what your school is doing. A lot of our students here at Howard, they're going to overseas and doing research work in Africa and Australia and Peru.
Sure.
They're really big on doing summer experiences away. So a summer program here helps about 10 students.
Okay, no, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
This particular upcoming summer and right now, how is the grant functioning, and how are you administering the work that has to take place right now?
Well, that's the challenge, and we're currently looking at a way, because we usually have a big summer symposium, so we now have to look at a way to take our summer symposium that is in person online and make sure that students still get that one-on-one research with their mentor.
Right.
We have some really great mentors and professors here at Howard who are taking up the charge and making sure that if there's not time to do wet research in a lab, that students can still look through journals and get their research other ways. But that's certainly a challenge that we're tackling.
Right, and I'm sure you're tackling that head on, and
Yes.
that's kind of our new reality. I try to tell people, hopefully not a new norm, but the new reality to deal with what is now abnormal in many ways. So I want to touch base on Dr. Lee a bit, because as you mentioned, there are great faculty members who participate, and Howard has been the lead on this grant since 1993. Obviously a grant that we're extremely proud of having here at the university. Tell us about a couple of the faculty who participate as well as with Dr. Lee.
Well, Dr. Provost Wutaw is the PI on the program, and also our mentors, Dr. Mark Burke, Dr. Kimberly Richardson, and Courtney Robinson is an amazing mentor and my sorority sister. We have Dr. Ghosh, and there are so many, Dr. Abbas, all throughout biology, chemistry, engineering. Run the gamut of STEM programs and mentors who are always asking how they can support and how they can help, and taking on one more student in their lab when their lab is full.
Right.
So yeah.
No, that's excellent. Now, you are the president of the Howard University Staff Organization.
Yes.
And it's an organization that had existed here at the university for some time. When I became president, I realized that a level of activity had fallen off dramatically, and so it was something that I wanted to bring back. And as you know, I approached you and quite a few of your colleagues to try to get you active and participating, and I'm glad to see that you're at the helm. As the president of the Howard University Staff Organization, describe to me what your sense of the current situation under the pandemic and trying to get all this work done has been.
One of the major challenges is that we can't just drop off on somebody's office. But I think we're overcoming that with teams. It seems that this pandemic has really brought us together more than before. you know that we work with Microsoft Teams, and we started the HUSO Teams group. We had a call last week that had over 400 people. We never would have had 400 people enter, you know, a room here on campus. So it seems as though people are really responding to be able to jump into a call and into a meeting and be able to stay abreast of the situation, of the information that's being disseminated.
And you made an interesting comment, which was that you feel like it's kind of has brought you guys together.
Yes.
Some more. Expand on that a bit. In what ways do you think people are, you know, probably just a little kinder, a little calmer about, you know, how we kind of view the world and view each other?
I think it's realizing that we're all in this together, that it's not just one or one-off, that we're all going through something, so you're a bit more sensitive when you know that someone is experiencing something with you. It's kind of that feeling that we're in the trenches together and we have to support each other and do what we can. You need this done, you need this by 5, okay, I got it for you. I'll do whatever I can to help get it done.
I would imagine, though, that there are lots of challenges.
Sure.
Working remotely, working from home, daycare, you know, several other things going on. You know, how much of an issue you think that is for the staff at present?
We are currently putting together surveys to tap into that that data to find out exactly. People, there's such a variety of people here with children who are at the early learning program, or, you know, I have coworkers who have students in college, high school, middle school, elementary school, and preschool, all in the same household, right. Trying to do their work for their respective schools and get work done at Howard. So I know that a lot of, or some people have received laptops through that program, so they're able to get their work done at home. People are just trying to stay connected and trying to stay positive.
Right. And obviously, the staff organization helps with dissemination of information and things of that nature. How much anxiety you think exists about coming back to work? Because obviously, especially in D.C., we still have an upsurge. We're hoping that by the fall semester, this would have been on a downsurge, if not very unusual to see people still getting infected in large numbers.
Sure.
But how much anxiety you think exists right now about that issue?
I think there's a healthy level of anxiety, if there is such a thing. I think that people are certainly cautious, but the dissemination of information of what's happening and when things are being cleaned is what's putting people's minds at ease, and knowing that we're not rushing back to campus without a plan in place. So I think that kind of eases it a bit to just a mild anxiety. Yeah.
What are some of the things you think as an administration we can do that will help staff get more comfortable? You mentioned cleaning. That's one of the areas we're looking at in terms of how often we clean, what we make available for people themselves to be able to wash their hands and do those types of things. But what other types of things you think that you're hearing from staff and your own thoughts as well about what you think would help in terms of making people comfortable?
Sure, I definitely think surveying and focus groups and getting people to give their input. Like I said, we have so many different positions on campus. The university system is a very unique ecosystem, and making sure that everyone is included, the diverse jobs that everyone has, to make sure that we're not missing anything. So I definitely think focus groups and surveys to see exactly where people are at.
You know, another complicating factor is that the employees live all across the DMV area, the district, Maryland, and Virginia. And, you know, just yesterday, Maryland's Governor Hogan opened back up some parts of the state, including golf courses, I might add. It's a little cold for golf this weekend. But so as you look at, as a Maryland resident, what's your perspective of what's taking place, especially in a hotbed area like Prince George's County, where the infection rate was significantly high?
Right. I think you definitely have to look at the data and even though something is allowed, doesn't mean that you should do it. Just because something can be done doesn't mean that it should be done. I think you definitely have to be mindful and listen to the science and listen to the research, and do what is best for you and for your family.
As we think about testing, coming back, obviously we're thinking about privacy, contact tracing, allowing people to know. Do you have concerns about privacy and testing that you think may be a factor as we try to bring people back to work?
I personally don't, and I would encourage that people open up their minds to contact tracing and various options that are available, the apps and certain things like that, where you can see who's infected, or if your level of if you're at risk of being infected. The more knowledge, the better. There was a quote that said, knowledge is like money. In order to gain value, it has to circulate. And so I think that making sure that that knowledge about what can keep you safe keeps circulating, and we keep letting people know how to remain safe and have positive thinking behind it, and not say, you're going to get sick, or keep that perpetuating, but making sure that people have the knowledge, they have the data, and that they're comfortable.
Sure. The economic impact of this is staggering. As we see, some 33 million Americans have filed for unemployment. The unemployment rate is skyrocketing from almost an all-time low.
Right.
And so there's significant concerns about that. We've made a decision to keep the staff intact through June 30th. We're going to revisit that decision again in the first week of June for the rest of the academic year. But again, from a staff perspective, I would imagine that there's some anxiety that we're trying to make sure that we alleviate. We want to be fully transparent, but at the same time, we don't want people to get anxious. What advice you have for me, in particular, around those issues that you think would help us manage through this well?
Certainly. Well, I definitely want to commend you for the information that's been put out so far and how the university is handling this situation. People are concerned, and there are a lot of questions, and when those questions aren't answered, then they can kind of fill in their own reality, and we certainly want to mitigate and avoid them doing so. So I think the calls that you're doing with faculty and with staff and even students, and checking in, doing those kinds of checks, and making sure that we can mitigate those things, and keeping us at the table and keeping us in the conversation for those particular ideas. The donation to the leave bank, where people can donate their vacation leave to help people who may need to tap it for if they're sick, is one of the great things that I'm donating my leave. And so I think things like that we can continue doing would certainly help.
So you've obviously had an opportunity to read a lot of the communications, obviously interact with me directly about what we've been doing. What can we do better? And what have we done that you probably would have liked us to do better? And especially going forward, what would you like to see done better?
What I would like to see, and what we're working on, and we've had these communications, so there are things that are coming down the pike, is an employee appreciation or recognition program, and also an evaluation program that is not just top down, but also peer-to-peer and bottom up, that to be able to, and more opportunities for people to be able to express their opinions and their voices, where a lot of our students have, or all of our students have, advisors that they can turn to, and their professors, but almost every staff member touches a student, is student facing, from their professor to their advisor to their janitor to their building manager that a student will come to and share information about how they're feeling. And every person has to be able to have the same information to tell them where to go, to put that student in the right direction, to know the resources on campus, no matter your station. So I definitely think that kind of knowledge development and professional development set structure for people to all have the same information, to be having the same conversation.
Excellent. I think it's always a good idea to empower the staff, especially through knowledge. So
Indeed.
Appreciate that feedback.
Thank you. Certainly help.
All right. Want to switch gears. You've been at Howard now for how many years?
Going on 8.
Going on 8.
Yes.
That seems like a lifetime, right? Everyone who comes here, I try to get a sense from them of why Howard, and I'm obviously interviewing a lot of faculty and students, but I want to get your perspective from a staff member. Why work at Howard? What do you think is Howard's magic? And why should somebody listening to this who is looking for a job, and unfortunately there'll probably be lots of people doing that, why should they make Howard their choice?
It's the Mecca. It's the prototype. It is always the beacon at the top of the hill. And I've grown so much working here, and everyone's always so willing to help and willing to be of service. And that's something you don't really find in a lot of work environments, that people who are, no matter their position, oh yeah, I can help you with that, or I'm not sure right now, but I'll definitely find out for you, and following up. So it's a place with open arms that you can grow, and that you're encouraged to grow, you're encouraged to give your opinion, and to, as long as you're in line with the mission, and we're all helping Howard move forward, as long as we're all together helping that mission come to fruition, it's a great place to be.
Right. And for the students who are listening, obviously we're past the May 1st decision. Students have made their decision. They've chosen where they're going to go to college. Let's say there's some that might be sitting on the fence and want to change their mind. Why Howard University?
As a student.
As a student.
I think definitely the opportunities that are made available to students. I did not attend an HBCU. I went to a PWI, and it was definitely a different experience. And a lot of students that from our LSAM program who go on to graduate schools, they struggle with being able to fit in and being really heard and understood. And I think that one of the great things about here is I've never had to explain myself. I've never had to explain how I'm feeling about anything that's going on, especially in the media. I've never had to justify my hair or justify the music that I listen to or anything. It's fully accepting of who I am, and also growing me into the person that I want to be. And there are so many resources on campus to be able to help students with that. And even if students have chosen their school, transferring is a thing.
All right. Excellent. Thanks for being here. My guest today was Monique McClung. She's the president of the Howard University Staff Organization. I'm Dr. Wayne Frederick. Please join me next time on The Journey.
This program was produced by WHUT, Howard University Television, and made possible by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.